Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Terry Ogburn, who is the lead business coach of Ogburns Business Solutions. Welcome to the program, Terry.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you again for having me on the show.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I can see from your bio that you've got a very long and storied career, so give us a little bit of a thumbnail sketch of your background and what led you to starting a business solutions coaching firm.
Okay, I will. It started after I'd been fired out of the car business. I was considered to be one of the top in the General Motors industry. I was selling Chevrolets, but General Motors encompasses a lot. I wanted a management job, and they didn't want it for me, and they thought I was better at sales, and so I got fired for applying, and I decided, okay, I was living at a apartment building that was turning condos, and they had a broken furnace duct, so I figured I could fix that for like $15, and there's 264, so that was almost $4,000. That'd keep me in money until I could find where I was going to go. And then ran into my first mentor, which was Jim Foxworthy. He was the IBM regional president for IBM, moved down from Atlanta to the Tampa area. And he became my first mentor and then started instructing me and helping me reach into that entrepreneurial spirit that I think I have. And then I started putting systems and processes together, and the next thing you know, was considered to be one of the top 5 companies, not only in air conditioning, but in companies in Tampa, Florida. And then later on, I won the entrepreneurial or the outstanding businessman of the year for the state of Florida. Took my operation on road and created the systems and started helping other businesses in 1985.
We could probably pause right there and take about 3.5 hours on just what you've said so far, because you really laid out some interesting points that I want to kind of capitalize on. Number one is you were in a position and you wanted something better. You weren't just satisfied. You weren't that, punch the clock and give me my paycheck. So you wanted more. You didn't get it, and rather than just being down on yourself and going back to like the crab mentality, they people pull you down. You went and noticed something, and you noticed opportunity. And it's kind of like, I think a lot of us go, well, there's no opportunity for me in this industry. I feel, and I think you would agree, there's opportunities around us 24/7. We just have to either slow down to notice it or just be aware to notice it. And that's what you did with that, duct deal with your apartment complex. What a wonderful thing there. And who knows where that would have, how many other little $15 things that could blossom into a huge opportunity do we overlook every single day?
One of the first things that I learned, Mike, and that was a great point, is, in fact, I share this with the people I work with, study what others are doing and find out a better way to do it. Mm-hmm. There's always room. One of my first early mentors said, Terry, find a business that is messed up and get right in the middle of it, because you can make some serious money there.
Because innovation sometimes is not only something so brand new that it disrupts an industry. Sometimes innovation is what you just said, is here's a process that so many times people just get jaded or used to, and the way things are doing. But if you come in and do something just enough different that they sit up and take notice, or just enough different that it works a little bit better, that's an innovation, and now things start cranking along. So I think that's a super good point you bring up.
Give you another little example. In the air conditioning world, you probably see it where it says air conditioning checkup. Okay. Mm-hmm. In my world, when we advertised for that, we said air conditioning tune-up, because people can relate to tune-ups
as a car
easier than they can to a checkup.
That's, and I think we could go so deep in those things. It's the wording. It's the approach. It's in marketing. I teach marketing for some universities online, and one of the 4 P's of marketing is positioning, and that's how your brand is positioned in the mind of the consumer. And I think that so many times if someone, check up or tune up, people all automatically think, oh, tune up, yeah, car, and their mind is going a mile a minute, and they think car, tune up, tweaking it, making it run better. Oh, okay. Oh, air conditioning, I should do that. And how many other ways and things in our businesses can we be noticing throughout the day? And I've heard it said this way too. You get so acclimated to your business processes and operations, and you do things the same old way. But what would happen if you described your business to a 10-year-old? Wouldn't we describe it a little differently than if we were talking to someone at a chamber mixer? Probably so. You would probably explain it in a super easy to understand way. And I've heard it said from Albert Einstein, something to the effect of, if you can't explain something like to a 10-year-old, then you don't even understand it yourself. So you got to simplify.
Exactly. In fact, I was working with a client yesterday, and there's a tool out there on the internet. Welcome to anybody. It's free. It's called Gunning, Gunning, Fog, Fog, Index. You go to Google, you Google that, click on the website, and you can take your text that you're formulating, you put it in this little box. It'll calculate it for you, and it'll tell you exactly what grade level that text is written at. And if it's not between 8 and 12, then you probably need to rewrite it.
Yeah. Because it might make you feel really good that you use all the verbose words, but in reality, and I think that people listening to this could nod their head and go, I'm busy. I've got my text message, instant message, Facebook message, schedule, emails. I've got all these things bombarding me. So when I do see something halfway interesting, maybe on a website, email, or whatnot, I'm not reading every word. I'm scanning. And you can't scan and understand and comprehend something at those higher levels like you mentioned. Now, if you're trying to submit something as a technical paper to an industry publication, great. That's when that comes into play. But yeah, you bring up a really good point. That's a good tool, Gunning Fog. So tell me, what have you? Another point that I remember from what you just said there in your intro was you sought out a mentor, and we could again spend about hours and hours on the importance of and finding. But you noticed that you needed a mentor, and then you actually listened to what they had to say and thought, "Wow, I don't know everything. Let me listen to this mentor and implement what they said." And wow, I found some success. So I think a lot of people either don't take the initiative to seek out a mentor, but then some people, when they do, they hear some advice and they go, "Well, that's not earth-shattering. I'm just going to disregard that." But sometimes those simple blocking and tackling things are the ones that get jobs done, and people just don't. They're looking for something that seems, disruptive and glitzy.
Also, camping onto that, Mike, we also have to remove ego. And a lot of times we let ego get right in our way, and ego is fear-based. So it's some fear that we're afraid the paycheck, the customer, something's going to go away. So if we lose control for that one, so empowering is a new one of the innovative ways that I help clients is by getting them to understand how important empowering your team to make mistakes. It's okay. Never a problem in making a mistake. We can always go forward.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. Hey, so I'm sure that you agree with the concept of working on your business, not in your business, because you got to roll up your sleeves and turn the cogs of the wheels of motion in your business. But there also needs to be that time when maybe you're listening to that mentor that's working on the business, not in it. But give us some insights that way that people can seek some advice on.
And as you know, Mike, being in marketing, cash flow is not profit. Just because you're turning money doesn't mean you're actually making a profit. So one of the things that we need to put in our business is something we've gotten away from years ago. We need it. It's called performas. And performas are a projection of your income, but not only your income, but also your cost of goods and also your daily expenses or your normal expenses, your company expenses. And some people even forget to put in to calculate in their income tax into in a performing you would. So you're looking for 10% after tax dollars. Now, the importance of understanding how much income tax you're paying, or that your company's going to need to pay, because you need to put that, in my opinion, back into the revenue, put it back into your sale price. I learned this in the air conditioning business when I started to take credit cards. And so my mentor at that time, I've had several mentors, and I always look for new ones. But they said, well, you need to pass that cost on to to the consumer. So I took at that time, American Express was 3% of what I took in. So I just added 3% to all my pricings, and now the customer is paying for that. Then you find out that if you go to the grocery store, we're paying for all kinds of things that go on in their world that we might not think is absolutely fair, but we got to work on the bottom line, how much we keep.
Yeah, and let's not even look at our cable bill or the cell phone bill, because it's the same ways, all those taxes and add-ons and add-ons.
Mm-hmm. So one thing is, that's one thing. I can also give you 4 steps that you and your audience right now, I give you 4 things that I do to any situation that comes new to me. First of all, the first thing is, so if everybody gets out a pen and paper, it'd be great. First is make the decision. You have to get so committed with the decision that you want to make, what direction you're going to go in your business or what you're going to do, working on it. You got to make the decision that you're going to work on the business. You're going to look at it from a bird's eye view, put all the players in place. Number 2, you have to be disciplined about the decisions that you do make. That means nothing can take place. Your disciplines are there to keep you structured and on pace for your vision. Then you have to be disciplined about making sure that those decisions are the ones that you want at the end of the day. Begin with the end in mind. Work backwards. And then the 4th step is vision. You have to have the vision of how this is all going to end up at the end of it. So we start with the vision, then we start putting the pieces in place, because we don't know what everything is created in our mind first, then we need to put it on paper, then we need to execute.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Stephen Covey quote, to begin with the end in mind, because if you don't, where are you headed? And when you then can do that, then that kind of, because I think some people might say, "Oh yeah, I'll do that. I'm interested in doing that." But really, in reality, it's, are you interested or are you committed? Because there's a big difference. Like your first point there, to decide, and it should be to decide with all caps, and to decide with a burning desire to achieve that. But they all have to come together, because if you decide something with that burning desire, but you don't have that vision, you might be running in 10 different directions.
And also, let me camp onto that. It's a very good point. But we also need to have a definiteness of purpose. We have to have a why, because if we don't have a strong why, we're not going to get anything done.
I can tell you are a reader of Napoleon Hill.
I am.
Yep. And Brian Tracy, and I'm rereading his book again, Maximum Achievement, and I know that's based a lot on Napoleon Hill's and the Laws of Success. So yeah, I mean, isn't it interesting that some of those old 1900s and 1920s writers like the Napoleon Hills, they didn't need Twitter to come up with their concepts. They came up with these things like the burning desire and the definiteness of purpose, and they still ring true today in today's business world.
And you probably know or heard of Greg Reed. If you haven't,
no.
He's an author. He was commissioned by the Napoleon Hill Foundation to go out, and he wrote a book called 3 Feet from Gold. This was just in the late 2000s, maybe 2009, up in that area. And he went around and interviewed the top 300 companies that were making strides in that down economy. And every one of those 300, their cornerstone was Think and Grow Rich. I read Think and Grow Rich at least once a year, and I also, anytime I'm getting ready to start a new project, like when I was getting ready to start being interviewed on podcasts, that was the same thing that I did. I get new ideas based on that frame of reference.
Exactly, because it keeps you on track and on gauge and on target. Otherwise, like we said before, where are you going? So let's kind of transition and finalize this last thought with some of your recommendations for someone that thinks, well, maybe there's some opportunity in my business to maybe make a little more, maybe to save a little more, maybe to tweak and fine-tune those processes and work on my business. What are some of the things that they should notice in their business to maybe be a trigger to say, maybe Terry could help with this, and let's reach out and just see what something might transpire? What are some of those things, and then how would they reach out to you?
Well, the first thing is they would have to, again, get back to the decision that they want to build a business that they do not have to be a part of it. See, you build a business with the intent to sell it. Doesn't mean you have to sell it. You just build it with that intent. So if you're attached to it, then you have to stay with it. Like with my air conditioning company, it was not named Terry's Air Conditioner. It was named Buccaneer because it was after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So you associate yourself with getting out of the business. So again, planning for that retreat. All of my website covers any of this type of thing, and that's terryogburn.com. They can reach out to me there. They could also reach out to me via Facebook, LinkedIn. Again, it's Terry Ogburn. I keep it very simple and easy to get to. Also, if they would like to spend 1/2 hour with me, no charge, free, they just go into my website, click on the Contact Us button. It'll come directly to me. You're not going to a sales team or sales department, none of that. It goes directly to me. We'll set up a time that I can work with you on a challenge that you're having. Sleeves rolled up, no sales pitch. I'm not interested in selling. I'm interested in helping your listeners do if they're having one challenge, just help them come up with a solution for that.
Excellent. Well, Terry, that sounds wonderful, and nothing wrong with getting some free short conversation for some tips. And I really encourage people to reach out to Terry. And thank you so much for being on the program today, Terry. I appreciate your time.
And thank you, Mike, for having me, too.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.